Welcome to the World of Horror podcast with Mom and Mac. This is the podcast where we share our love of international horror. Everyone has their fears, but we are not afraid of subtitles. Before we get into it, fair warning, these discussions will include spoilers and language which may not be suitable for all listeners. Let's move on to our first segment, Mom and Mac Chat.
Hi Mac, how's it going?
It's going good, Mom. How are you?
I'm doing really well. I'm doing really super, thanks.
Doing really super?
Mm-hmm.
Double plus good?
Double plus good? Oh my. Are you a 1984 guy?
Okay, here's the thing. I read it for high school, but I did not ever finish it. But I did like what I read, but I need to listen to the audiobook. I can read, but I ever since discovering audiobooks, I was like, wow, I don't get as much. There must be something with my brain. It's just if I read something, it's not the same as listening. Listening is way better for me.
Well, and you usually listen at 1.5 or 2x speed, right?
Not 2. I would never go up to 2x. And sometimes I used to really be into the 1.5, but lately I'm like, I should savor this more. Why the need to speed this up so much? But because I remember reading like Harry Potter as a kid, and then when I would get older and it had been years since reading a book, I'd be like, I don't even know what happened in that. Like, I don't think I read it right. I can read, but it doesn't stick in my brain the same way as if I listen to an audiobook. So anyways, all that to say, yes, I liked what I read of 1984, but I need to finish it. But I see all the parallels. I mean, I feel like this movie might as well be like,
yeah,
an adaptation
of
the book.
There is a movie version of 1984 with John Hurt as Winston Smith.
Oh.
And Eurythmics did the music for it.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know how 1984 ends? Like, do you know what happens to Winston?
Isn't there something really bad with like a rat and he's dead?
Oh, well, that's Room 101. He gets tortured in Room 101. Well, I'll just leave it. I mean, it's not good. He doesn't have a good ending.
I'm pretty sure, like at one point I knew, because again, I definitely got an A in class, but I did not finish that book. Like the American schooling system, it needs some work, because if you're a kid like me and you're like, oh, I can just find the Cliff Notes online and get an A, why would I finish the book?
Yeah, I read it in junior year. But
did you like it at the time?
Yes, I did. I thought I was really cool because everybody was kind of reading it at the time, and so I thought I would read the other sort of dystopian one, Brave New World.
We read that one too.
Yeah, so I thought it'd be really cool if I was seen around town just like...
Oh, just reading it.
Yeah.
I feel like every teenager feels like that like everybody's watching them, so you gotta like look really cool. Like you're in your own movie.
Yeah, but we studied it properly in school, and it had a profound effect on me, as this movie did as well.
I again need to finish the book, and also definitely I think I read like the first chapter of Brave New World. I really did not go into that one that deeply. But from what I did read, I do feel like it is very, like, just, he really knew or could sense, like, I feel like fundamental parts of, like, the human condition and, like, cult mindsets, like, using different language and, like, things being off, like, limits to say or think, and, like, how people would act in, like, a very surveilled, like, place. Like, I always think it's amazing. I know people must be drawing upon history already and of the time, but when something written a long time ago, like, relative to my life before I was alive, before you were alive, that it could still feel like it rings true today. I think that's like, wow. That's an accomplishment.
Yeah. Definitely.
I guess of both the human race and also the writer.
But otherwise, I've been making a ton of art, and I'm so happy. I'm just like trying to recognize how happy I am. I talked to my shrink, and well, not my shrink. I talked to my therapist, and I was like, "Do you think I have mania?" Because like I'm not sleeping that much, and I'm making a ton of art, and I'm spending a lot of money. And she's like, "Well, let's keep, an eye on it." She's like, "But I don't think so." She's like, "What have the crashes been like?" I'm like, "Oh, I haven't crashed since I've gotten out of school." So I think that crash will come on August 12th when I have to go back.
Isn't that so depressing? Whenever you feel happy, like I feel like if you are somebody who struggles with like mental illness, like I literally wrote this down in my journal last week where I was like, it is scary to say or to write down like I feel happy, because then my brain is like, and that it's all downhill from here, like just wait until you're not happy anymore. And it's like, and then I feel like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Then the end of the week was horrible. Like it started off so good, probably that would have been like that anyway. But then my brain is like, that's because you said you were happy. So remember, don't do that again. It's weird.
Yeah. No, Demented. I don't remember being this happy like ever.
Wow.
Yeah. It's just every day I wake up and I make a lot of art, and sometimes I go have social time, but mostly I'm just by myself just making a fuck ton of art, and I'm just like and I realized like if I could have my summer schedule all year round, I could do this. I could make a lot of art, but I would have to have the rest of that pay come from somewhere, and that's not online yet. Although I keep seeing, and I'm full up for the fall, but I keep seeing this listing in Indeed. I think it's for somewhere in Virginia. It's a university, and I'm half tempted to apply, even though I can't take on any more.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like that's what people say is it keeps you fresh. Like you can always just say, no, I don't want that. But it could give you confidence to like, that, you have more options available to you.
Yeah, that's true too. I mean, if I could like have like a patchwork quilt of online institutions, and if my main job would have let me work half of what I do, oh my gosh.
Perfect.
Perfection. So I'm going to put that out there. I would like for that to happen in a year.
I hope it does.
Or sooner.
Yeah, sooner would be nice.
And then I had this other fantasy because my I was going to call him my gentleman, but I tried it. It's weird. So my beast.
Why not partner?
I don't like it.
Oh, you don't like it? Why not?
I don't like the way it sounds, and I don't like, it sounds to me like business partner. We're not in business, but I would like us to be in business. I would like him to run my business.
Ooh.
And because he hates what he does. And he's stressed out, and it's affecting his health. So one day I was just like, oh, that would be so great if he could like manage the books. There are no books yet. But if he could manage the books and like, I don't know, do stuff with spreadsheets, like talk to people. Yeah. He's good at that.
Get his foot in the door in places.
Yeah. See, I told him that, and he just sent me back a smiley face emoji, but that's something.
It is something. I feel like, if you need to like scale up, then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because I got into these art shows. I'm like qualified to go to like, I think it's 4 or 5 art shows in the fall. And that's cool and everything. But my little Toyota Corolla and me, going to set up this stuff all by myself is going to be just a whole lot. So it's sort of like, I'm happy that I got in, but by the same token, I'm like, I don't really want to do it. I don't want to do it by myself.
Yeah.
A
lot of people do it with other people.
That's what it always seems like to me at those like craft fairs and stuff. It always seems like it's a husband and wife or like two sisters or something.
Yeah. Or, I mean, a friend, like, because, if you're running the booth and one of you's got to, like, use the restroom, I mean, like, there you go.
Exactly. Oh, that was something to think about. What if I split a booth with somebody?
Yeah, that would be nice.
It's my first time, so I don't know.
What?
I'm just so happy. I just can't.
Aww.
I can't stand it.
I love your, like, the colors you got going on, the green shirt, and they fit your glasses.
Actually, it's the camera. I mean, thank you. But actually, this is blue. And this is more teal.
I see the teal, I think.
Yeah. But
I like the way the camera makes it look. It's a nice shade of green.
Well, WoHos, listener WoHos, for some reason, our host Riverside doesn't like my camera, which is a nice camera.
Yeah, it's a nice camera.
So I look real grainy and old school, old timey.
Yeah, the colors are kind of like, you know how some TVs can only show like a certain range of colors? I feel like that's what's happening.
I feel like I need to research laptops with really good integrated cameras now.
I feel like I hope we can find something or
jump to
find some way to make it work. It's just a shame to not use it.
I know. Well, I plugged it into I did a bunch of stuff beforehand. So I tried to plug it directly into the computer. That didn't work. And then I was worried that I just wanted to check on the cat and see if the cat was on the catio because it's like 90 degrees today and I don't have a cat door yet. So I just sort of leave it ajar. I go to look for her. She's in the guest room, laying on the bed like a teenager.
Aww.
And so that means that she's not outside. So I just like ran downstairs and then I realized I hadn't started the laundry. So there was a lot right before I got on.
Yeah. Wow, I'm just realizing I was going to do a bunch of errands today and I forgot to do one. I went to my eye doctor and the place, it's stupid. It's like both a great name, but a fucking stupid name. I hate that I have to say my eye doctor, the place, not I have an eye doctor. Ugh. Anyways, went to the corporation, my eye doctor, and actually the doctor there was like extremely nice. But apparently my prescription got better, and I just got these glasses like to me relatively recently. So they said, "Oh, just bring the frames in. We'll switch out the lenses." And they messaged me on like Wednesday, like they're ready, and I was like, "Cool, I'll do that later." And haven't not done it.
Yeah,
because I'm like, man, why did I mean, I already paid for them, so no reason to not get them. But they said my eyes will get worse if I keep wearing these. And they also said I don't need to wear glasses. But I was like, that I have to. I don't know. It feels weird to not wear them. Like they say I don't need a prescription, but when I take them off, it feels like my eyes are worse. So I don't know. Well, so they put a tiny prescription in them. Mm-hmm. But sorry, what did you say?
No, that's just what I was going to say. Maybe you just have a very small. But I mean, the person can tell, like if we can't see clearly.
Apparently they can, but here's the thing: is I feel like, well, so I'm nearsighted, and I thought I was, but you kind of learn how to see what blurry letters are. And it's like, I know that says blah, 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 but I would like it to be clearer because I'm having, like, and I'm not squinting. It's just, I know that this amorphous shape is probably a G. Mm-hmm. I'm always afraid when I take an eye test, like, am I giving the right answers? Why can't they just, like, scan them and be like, here, this is what you need?
I don't know. I feel like they do that a little bit, but the last time they do that.
Do.
I know. Whenever I teach duty ethics, I just like, nah. The last time I went to the eye doctor, they said I have one nearsighted eye and one farsighted eye.
The fuck?
I'm like, okay.
Thanks,
creators. No, it's fine. Except no, that's why I can't get my prescription right. And I also have like astigmatism, and that always gets worse. Like every
Oh God.
yeah. So my beef wants to get some kind of laser surgery on his eyes.
I don't recommend.
Why
because,
not?
Okay, I am not a doctor, and I know there's a lot of people who have said that, oh, this is great, change their life. But one time I fell down a rabbit hole of people who like have been in chronic pain ever since getting the eye surgery. Like apparently there's
Whoa.
just a small percentage of chance that like, and I don't want to spread like misinformation, so I'll put the caveat that I could be totally wrong.
Yeah.
But I remember looking at all these like testimonies of people saying like, I have constant headaches and my eyes are watering constantly and stuff. And like, this has been going on for 2 years after the surgery. So I feel like you never hear about that. Just something
Right.
to keep in mind.
Yeah. I don't know. I've always been curious about it myself because it seems like, 15 minutes, you're blind for like a day or something like that, but then you can see perfectly well. I would love that.
I'm like a glasses fan. Like I don't mind wearing glasses for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Well, it's okay.
Like I said, I don't have to, so.
Yeah. You're so lucky. I mean, especially like when I'm more active, like running and doing stuff like that.
They
it's
are
like
annoying.
Nice not to have to wear glasses, but I've gotten to the point where I have to wear glasses like when I'm reading in bed. That used to be fine. Like that far away from my face used to be fine, but now I need glasses. So I don't know, kids getting older. It's not all it's cracked up to be.
Yeah. You know what I've noticed is sometimes when I stay in a position, it hurts way longer than it did a few years ago. Like I sit, hunched over doing something, and then I'm like, ow! Why does it hurt so much?
Have you ever been tempted to get any kind of plastic surgery, Mac?
What a great segue. But actually, yes, I have. I've considered getting like, they have this like Botox for your masseter, like the masseter Botox, but it's for like treating TMJ. But here's the thing, some people get it because it feminizes kind of your face. Like, because if your TMJ is really bad, your muscles really buff, so your jaw will be huge. So it gives you a slimmer jaw. And it's like, I don't want that though. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want a slimmer jaw. As boxy as you can get it, please. But I have thought about forehead stuff, not really for wrinkles or anything, but just like they say, if you have like chronic headaches, it can help with that. So,
oh yeah, that
I've
makes
considered
sense,
that.
I guess.
Yeah. But your skin's great.
I know, it is really good. I never wear makeup, and I think that's why. I'm also pretty afraid of the sun. So the only thing I put on my skin usually is sunscreen. So, but yeah, and then I don't smoke and I don't drink. So
that'll do it.
Yeah, I'm a goody two shoes.
Well, speaking of plastic surgery,
I'm so excited. So Max said spoiler that he liked this movie, and I'm over the moon.
Alan joined me like halfway, and usually when he joins me for a movie, he kind of like half pays attention, then goes on his phone. But he watched the whole other half, and he was like, wow. I liked what I watched. I'm like, okay, well, you got a whole another hour. Let's start it over.
Brazil, the brief summary from IMDb. A bureaucrat in a dystopic society becomes an enemy of the state as he pursues the woman of his dreams. This was directed by Terry Gilliam, and the screenplay was by Gilliam, Tom Stoppard, and Charles McEwen. And it stars Jonathan Pryce, Robert De Niro, Katherine Hellman, Ian Holm, Bob Hoskins, Michael Palin, Ian Richardson, Peter Vaughn, and Kim Greist. The cinematography is by Roger Pratt. It's edited by Julian Doyle. The music is by Michael Kamen. And it was released on the 20th of February, 1985 in France, and on the 22nd of February in the UK, and on the 18th of December 1985 in the US. It has a running time of 142 minutes. How did you feel about this runtime, Mac?
I'll be honest. I do feel like there were some parts they could have just totally cut out of the film. That being said, I still enjoyed the movie, and I was only slightly fatigued by the end. But it wasn't my usual, like, checking my watch, like, please God, will this be over? And when I hit the halfway mark and I paused and I went, I have a whole other hour and 10 minutes, I wasn't, like, cringing. So, and
Right.
I didn't even watch it on a fast speed. So, all that being said, for a 2-hour, 22-minute movie, not bad.
Yeah, 222. Not bad. So we open in the clouds. It's 8:49 p.m. somewhere in the 20th century. And we first get a commercial from Central Services about ducks. DUCTS. And then a bomb goes off. We get the title card. Deputy Minister Helpman describes terrorists as spoil sports and tortures that analogy as he talks on as he's on this talk show, which plays in the background of an office where its inhabitant is chasing a flying insect around. The guy kills the insect and it falls into the electrical typewriter, changing the name on the arrest warrant from Archibald Tuttle to Archibald Buttle.
Don't know how that could happen, but
the T and the B are like nowhere near each other, but that's fine.
Magic. Maybe somewhere in the 20th century they've changed the QWERTY keyboard.
Well, and it looked like, those old-timey typewriters that had like a ball that moved around. Have you ever seen? No, you'd have to go to a museum to see those. I never worked with one, but I've seen them. It's like this ball that moves
to like
around
crank
to hit the different letters.
Oh, no, I had no idea.
No, you have no idea what I'm talking about. We cut to Buttle's family reading A Christmas Carol and their upstairs neighbor Kim, who is watching a Marx Brothers movie as she bathes. Oh, nasty water in the bathtub.
This whole place is gross. Also, I wrote down, like, Helpman, he was saying, like, I think that's why we have everybody pay to get their information and, like, pay for interrogations. I literally wrote, like, please don't give America ideas. Like, we already got Bond. Like, please, we don't need anything else.
Oh, and I think I wrote down Jill's name is Kim a bunch. The actor's name is Kim Greist, but the character's name is Jill. Doesn't really matter. A SWAT team breaks in and takes Buttle into custody.
The way that they put him in, like, the thing that they put him in is so demented. It's so scary. It literally is to just, like, hook people up and ship them off. It's scary. It's
like a straitjacket, but it's got, like, these hooks or something that you can hook them in the paddy wagon or whatever.
And then please sign the receipt for your husband, and then sign that. Oh, that's the receipt for your receipt, and that one's mine. Like, the little, like, talking they did was great.
As Buttle is taken away, his wife has to sign for her husband. But you said it better. This is like the receipt for your receipt. Mr. Kurtzman supervises his team of workers, all male, dressed in 40s to 50s vests and suits. One of the coolest shots in the film, where the camera is just like tracking down this hallway and people are running around in front of the camera. Amazing.
Bunch of them look like me. Short black hair, glasses. Yeah. Okay, this is where I had this feeling that I might be crazy. I haven't seen this movie a bunch, but you know what I have seen a bunch? Is The Grinch with Jim Carrey. And I think that mailroom scene is inspired by this scene. And
really?
Even the beginning, because the beginning, is going through the sky. And the beginning of that Grinch movie is going through like a snowflake, like a CGI snowflake. It's like the same opening. And like the like music, like dun 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 dun, kind of thing. Like, and all of the ducks. There were the ducks in the mailroom in the Grinch movie. This is my conspiracy. Alan looked it up. There's no connection, but I think somebody was inspired by this movie.
That's really great. I love that idea. As soon as they're able, the workers turn on a Western to watch. Kurtzman finds the mistake between the Tuttle and Buttle thing and calls for Sam Lowry.
Lowry!
So whenever people are not being supervised, they turn on a movie or a TV show.
And it's like, as soon as he opens up the door, they're like right back to it.
Yeah.
Ian Holm is like amazing
precious.
in this role. Like
really
his like
gem.
vocal delivery is incredible. Like at one point he just goes, "No!" Like screams like that or something, and it made me laugh.
Yeah, he also uses his physicality to great effect
Mhm.
because he is really insecure around Sam, and he loves Sam so much, and he doesn't want him to be promoted because if he's promoted, he'll go to a different office. But
He won't do all his work for him.
Yeah, basically, he doesn't know how to do his own job, and he needs Sam to do it, and so he just kind of shrinks down a lot when he's around.
This is too real. This is a lot of office jobs I have had.
Yeah. So Sam is not there. He's flying through the clouds in his dreams. His phone awakens him, and he explains that his electrical system is up the spout.
You left out an important part. What happens in his dreams is he is a giant Icarus with these huge wings, like David Bowie makeup on, trying to find this woman with beautiful long blonde hair. I was like, this makes this movie fucking incredible. That like this like the juxtaposition, because it's so insane, but that's what makes it amazing. Because when you hate your life that much, it's like that is what it feels like when you send yourself away to be like, let me not go crazy in this moment.
Yeah,
You would be
that's a
flying
really
through
good
the sky
point.
like Icarus.
And I mean, there's a lot of stuff that kind of reminded me of Pee-wee's Big Adventure. The
Yeah.
sort of what do you call that, Rube Goldberg type setup. But even when he wakes up, the phone's like wah, 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 and he's got to take those old timey plugins and like plug it in the right
Like
socket.
the switchboard.
Yeah, so like the tech is really weird in this movie. Like it's very old.
I love it.
Everybody's got this like magnifying screen in front of their
that was my
computer
favorite
screen.
thing. Because when I was in like elementary school, I think it was elementary school, they had the Game Boy Advance SP, which was, it kind of was like a flip phone, but it, you could unfold it and it had its screen and it had the controls. But your dad had gotten me this like magnifying thing that attached to the top of it because the screen was so small, and it was the exact same thing. I was just so delighted to see it in this movie because I remember nobody else had that, but I felt so cool with this magnifying thing on my Game Boy.
Yeah, you were cool.
I was very cool. This is the kind of tech I love. It's like Alien too,
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to show you my new t-shirt. It says Jonesy, and it's got Jonesy on it.
Oh, the best cat.
Sam arrives to the Ministry of Information, which is abbreviated as MOI, where he runs into his friend Jack, who tells him that Sam's life is going wrong. Jill shows up to lodge a complaint on behalf of her neighbor and runs into some bureaucracy.
I wrote, this is exactly how it felt changing my name with the court. I had to get a lawyer and I had to pay so much money just for somebody to, and like when she actually wrote down the explanation, I was like, I can't believe I just paid like more than $100 just to get a list of instructions, but I needed it because there's no way to find it out by yourself. That's wild.
And not okay.
Oh yeah. I mean, you have to do weird shit like post it up in the court for 10 days where anybody could like write like, no, you can't do that. Feels like a security violation, but okay. And then I had to go up all these different floors back and forth. I had Kimmy with me, which was great, but it was like stupid.
I'm sorry you had to go through that, Mac.
Oh, it's okay. I just was like, wow, they got it perfect in this movie.
Sam is helping his boss, Kurtzman, who has a sign in his office which reads, "Suspicion breeds confidence." Sam discovers that information retrieval made the error mixing up Tuttle and Buttle. Kurtzman also tells Sam that his mother has pulled strings to get Sam promoted.
It's like, would you leave if you were promoted? He goes, no. Oh, you've been promoted.
But this time, I've seen this movie so many times, but this time I was really on the lookout for the posters.
I wrote them all down too when I saw them. They were so amazing.
I want them.
Me too.
Like,
what was one of them was like, don't suspect a friend. Report him.
Yes. We cut to Sam's mother, who is getting a plastic surgery treatment done.
Oh,
and she admits that she is the person responsible. Do you want to describe this process?
Yes, please. This is done so amazingly. I mean, obviously the end result is that Doctor Who episode with the moisturize me woman, but it's like a guy. I love the effects in this movie. He's like just literally pulling her face back, like a facelift, but it's like her face is putty. And he's just really straining at it. And while Sam's talking at one point, he's like, "Can you please go into the lobby? You're giving her wrinkles." And this whole plot line too with the friend and the surgeon was like killing me. It was making me laugh so hard. But yeah, just really stretching that face back.
I mean, it's kind of a famous, even if you haven't seen this film, you've probably seen that still.
If you go on IMDb, it's like the first picture.
Yeah, Catherine Hellman having her face like pulled back. But this whole subplot is really amazing. So you've got Catherine Hellman, and her treatments are going pretty well. And then you have this rival doctor who is working on her friend, Mrs. Terrain, and those processes are not going well.
Every time we see her, she's got a new bloody bandage. And she's like, "Oh, I've just had a complication. My complication had a complication." And she's so sweet, too. She seems like a nice, just dottery old woman.
There's this sort of rivalry between the knife doctor and the acid doctor. And oh my gosh, it's just really amazing.
It just hit me again that it was acid, and which is very poignant for a later scene. Did you know, because I go into a lot of skincare subreddits, and there is this one procedure that a lot of people recommend if you have really intense acne scars, but like you have to find a professional, like a doctor, good professional to do it, and because you need to be put under, because they're just putting straight up acid on your face, and like,
oh my gosh,
and the healing process can take up to a year. But when it's done, like day and night, like, but I mean, people have died like on the table because their heart stopped. So I would never. I mean, luckily, I've been blessed. I don't have scars that bad, but I was just like, this is real. People do just put, but like, I know that's what a chemical peel is, but this one was like, oh, they just put acid on you. That's crazy.
And it also has this strange effect that she's getting a lot of attention from young men, like men even younger than her son. And so, yeah, it's Sam and his mother go to dinner with Mrs. Terrain and her daughter Shirley. The waiter who... Oh, yeah. Then there's this whole bit with the waiter.
This scene killed me, too.
So you have to pick out by number the food that you want. And Sam's just like, just give me a steak. And he's like, you have to say the number. And this is like super important. And he really pisses off this waiter. But then when they get their food, it's just like mush with a picture of the dish on top of it.
And none of them, I love this. Like, it just tells you so much about the world that, like, this is the fanciest place you could go to. Like, these women, are getting cosmetic procedures from, I guess, the best doctors, and they're dressed really fancily, and there's no reaction to them putting this plate down. That's just incredible.
Yeah, and then there's this little button on the scene where they take the Mrs. Terrain's dog and they put it on the...
Yeah, they put the lid down on it. It's just, everything is just like working together on a track. That's what makes this long runtime totally work, because there's even things going in the background that like are amazing.
Well, one of those things that quickly becomes in the foreground is an explosion. that happens. And I wanted to talk to you about the explosions. So the government tells the people in this society that terrorists are responsible.
Oh, something is hitting me now. So
Do you want to?
So okay, I didn't really get. I need to watch this movie again. But now this is hitting me, and I don't want to. I won't give spoilers for a later scene, but doubt is then drawn into, and I feel like I just took it as like, well, probably this seems like a really militaristic society. I'm sure there's terrorists, you know, and also people have with this explosion, they're either like, you know, dying really graphically on the ground, which I loved, or they're like the band people are going back to playing like soot all over their faces. Like, this is okay, normal, but it has to be because of the infrastructure then. Like,
right.
It's they're blaming it on these terrorists and making everyone suspicious of each other. But it's just I did not get that until right now. That's amazing.
Well, you're really a smart guy, because that is one of the theories, that there actually are no terrorists at all, that it just has to do with these ducks.
It tracks. I mean, it doesn't seem like they're working that well.
Right,
and they're
right.
Even in this fancy restaurant, they're like prominently in the middle of the restaurant, like going to everything.
Right.
Yeah. This movie's perfect.
Well, Sam gets back home and his heating system is all messed up. And Tuttle comes to help him fix it. And this is Robert De Niro.
Oh my God. What a great performance. And the people from Central Air that, you know, he's calling, because I guess that's another small detail, you know, that they don't have to put in your face, but must be true that like everything's a monopoly and you have to, he only has this one option of people to call, and they're like, well, between these hours, you can't do it, you know?
And then she goes, this has not been a recording.
He's like, wait.
So Tuttle, this is the person who was actually supposed to be apprehended, but he is running around and doing this sort of rogue work where he just bypasses central services completely, and he's like fixing people's stuff like on his own.
And he can't, like, when he finds the issue with it, he can't fix the whole system. Because I mean, like, Lowry's walls they literally say like, do not open. And they're all just hiding this incredible machinery. So I'm guessing it's just like, no, we can't fix this whole thing. You'd have to fix everything. So he just puts in like a little bypass. But he's like, you know, they won't do this for you. And I wrote down, I did have a vet like this once. I ended up having to not go to her because she didn't have really good, like, if I needed like an ultrasound, she couldn't do that. But like when I first brought Brandon in, she just opened up her mouth and was like, she's got some tartar here, and just like flicked it off with her thumbnail. She was like, they're not going to do that at the, you know, at the at your other vets, you know, they're going to put her under, but now you don't have to do that. And I was like, whoa, this lady's crazy. But like, those people do get shit done.
Yeah, but I mean, Tuttle is like freaking amazing. I mean, he's just in and out, and he's fixed Sam's problem. And just as he's done that, Central Services shows up, and they, you know, Sam is not a very good liar. Yes, their caps are amazing. This is Bob Hoskins, and I don't know the other actor, but he's like, no, I don't need you anymore. And they're like, no, you called. You need us to come in. And he's like, no, it fixed itself. Yeah,
the machine still fixed himself, buddy.
And then he turns it around on them, and he says, you can't come in unless you have a 27B stroke 6 form.
And they're like, one guy starts having like a panic attack.
Yes, definitely.
And the other guy's like, how dare you bring that up? Look what you've done to him. The little like employees, the like male employees of any group that they show, again, another reason why this runtime is fine with me, because I love all of their little scenes and like the little society that these guys have. Like, they're all assholes, but you just see them like do plays together or just chit chat about normal shit together, and it makes the world feel so much more alive.
Yeah, I agree. So Sam tells Tuttle that information retrieval is looking for him, and Robert De Niro just like zip lines out of there. like a boss. That's so cool.
He looks like one of those retro, air flight dudes. He looks like Porco Rosso from the Studio Ghibli movie.
The back in records, a refund check has been issued for Buttle, but it cannot be deposited into Mrs. Buttle's account because she doesn't have one.
He's been deleted, excised, nothing but the word dead.
Right. But Sam realizes that he has been killed, and he volunteers to hand deliver the check.
Never do this for your boss, people. If your boss is like, oh, you'll do this thing for me, don't take them up on it.
He drives a very silly car to Shangri-La Towers. And there is a poster where the kids are playing a game of take somebody into custody, basically.
Tell me everything you know.
But the poster says Mellowfields, top security holiday camps, luxury without fear, fun without suspicion, relax in panic-free atmosphere. Oh dear.
Those are the things they're advertising as opposed to your daily life.
There is someone in a trench coat chain smoking outside the house, but I don't think we ever see that character again.
I feel like we're supposed to be paranoid, just like him. He's constantly in this state of somebody's watching me.
And I think that's Terry Gilliam, the director.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay, then we have the scene with Mrs. Buttle. Oh
my God.
My goodness.
This one's rough in the best way.
So Lowry's there, and he's just like, yeah, so there was this mix-up, see? And so we've issued a refund check for your husband, and so you just need to sign these forms, and you can have the check. And she's, completely in another place. And she's like, what did you do with his body?
Oh.
Because all she knows is her husband was taken away on Christmas Eve or whatever, and she never saw him ever again.
Yeah, because she's like, he's dead, isn't he? And he just doesn't. Not gonna, poke that hornet's nest. And I think Lowry's character is really good in this moment because he's a guy who, is a part of the system. I don't know. It's such an interesting kind of character of you are in the system. You are part of the thing that is bad. It is a little bit too big for you to handle all on your own. And you can recognize things are wrong. But right when you're faced with somebody that has been wronged, this is the choice that you're making. But it doesn't make me see him as a bad person. It is just this was your lot in life, was being a part of the privilege. But even then, his life is not that great. His little living situation, better than hers, but still not good,
I don't like Lowry after this.
I don't like Lowry later in the film, but in this, I'm not proud of him, but I think I would rather an interesting character be doing this. And I felt like this was a very interesting choice for our hero to do, which was just kind of be a pussy and be like, oh, well, that's a little bit unfair,
Yeah. Yeah. So when the SWAT team earlier had broken in, one of the things they did was they sawed a circle in the floor of the upstairs neighbor so they could jump down into the Buttles' apartment. And so something happens. There's a scuffle. Oh, one of the kids attacks Lowry and he breaks a mirror. And in the shard of the mirror glass, Jill is looking down and she's like, is everything okay, Miss Buttle? And so he sees her face in the mirror and she looks exactly like the woman of his dreams. And so he jumps up into her apartment to try to find her, but she's gone by the time he gets there.
And I gotta say, this whole plot line with her and him took a whole star off this film for me. I'm sad to say.
Okay. Now, there is one reading of their relationship, which I really like, but we'll get to it later. So anyway, when Lowry gets back out to his car, the kids have set it on fire. And then Jill almost runs Sam down with her like huge truck. But one of the kids tells Lowry that the woman's name is Jill Layton.
And then she says, "I'm waiting for my dad to come home."
And he says, "Oh, he'll be really proud of you when he does." And then he realizes it's one of the Buttle kids. So her daddy is never coming back.
He
so
just
he
walks
just
away.
like goes, yeah.
Bleak AF, as you might say.
That's right. This is a grim AF movie. Sam tries to find out information about Jill, but he doesn't have enough access. But he could get access if he accepted that promotion.
And then Ian Holmes like, "No!" I already said no for you. And then he goes, "Why did you do that?" He's like, "It's what you wanted, isn't it?" He's my favorite character, I think.
He's amazing. Well, Kurtzman, I looked it up. It means short man.
Oh my God.
So Sam's flying in his dreams again, but Jill is suspended in a metal cage, and there are all these enslaved people in baby masks that are holding onto the ropes that go up to her cage.
I love these guys. Were creepy.
Very creepy. So there's some imagery that's repeated in Gilliam's films. One of them with the magnifying lenses on the computers, that's very reminiscent of 12 Monkeys. And this cage thing is also in Time Bandits. So, which have you ever seen, Matt?
I don't think so.
Okay, we got to watch it sometime. I don't think we can really do it for the podcast. We have to bend a lot of rules. Just for fun. But that was one I saw when I was 12. I saw this one when I was 15. So that one, I probably like it a little more than this one. But all right. So when Sam gets home, the men from Central Services have pulled out all the ducks from his walls, and they've done that in retaliation. And they find Tuttle's workaround thing, and they call him a scab. In Lowry's dream, he has to find a samurai, which is Sam. Samurai.
I love this huge samurai suit. This was great.
Very cool.
Like, God, I just love the effects in this movie. Because there was a scene. I really need to know how they did this. I'm guessing with maybe a small scale model, but there's the scene where now, I think it happened in between. It happened before this, but it was like, before he was flying, but then these huge giant skyscrapers come out of the ground. And that scene was like just amazing. Like, you cannot make something like that with CGI and it looked good. But I'm sure this was just a small scale model that they made.
I think it was, yeah.
And it's like,
I did watch some like behind the scenes stuff, so I think it was.
And like, that's totally fine by me. They need to do this more. This should be a blueprint.
So Lowry's looking for the samurai, but he's haunted by the enslaved people, and one of them is Mrs. Buttle.
Where's my husband?
What did you do with his body? And he is called to dinner. So he's going to go to dinner with his mother, Mrs. Terrain, Dr. Jaffe, Mr. Helpman, and Jack.
He gets invited from the singing inviter woman dressed as like a carnival person who's like, "She would like your attendance," like singing like that. And then she's like, responses by voice only. And so then he starts to sing. She's like, no, you can write it down. And then he was like, well, the party started an hour ago. She's like, yeah, I'm really backed up. Okay. And that was the scene Alan walked in on.
Oh, that's
was her
amazing.
Singing that, and I was amazed that he still sat down. I was like, the whole movie is not like, or like it is like this, but.
And there's a singing telegram scene in The Fisher King. So,
another thing he likes.
Another Gilliam, yeah. So now we have a scene at information retrieval with the office, and Lowry is now referred to as DZ/015. Like, that's his designation now. And it's on his office door. But
and they're like, wow, it's so good for you. You have really made it. You've got your own office with your own door. Folks, again, if anything is like being in an office, it is this. It's too real. of being like, look at you, you superstar. And then you look at The Office.
Right. So The Office is bisected by this wall so that, like, when we go into Harry Lime's office, or Henry Lime, I don't know, the office right next door, I noticed that his inbox tray goes over the edge of the table. Like, it's but they're sharing a desk. And so
because he keeps like putting his books down and then the desk moves to the right. He's like, wait a second. It's because the other guy's pulling it to make his desk longer. Who played Mr. Lime? Because he was incredible.
do we want to look it up?
In my remake, Will Forte will be playing this character.
But in Lime's office, there is a poster. A couple of posters. One of them says, trust in haste, regret in leisure. And then yours, don't suspect a friend, report him. And Sam says he wants to use Harvey's computer because he wants to look up all this stuff about Jill.
He doesn't have one for some reason.
Yeah, he doesn't have one. And Harvey has one, but he doesn't know how to use it.
God, he was like, this guy's acting was so fucking good. Because again, God, I have worked with this man before who says to you with full confidence, oh, I'm actually really good at computers. And then he can't even type. And then he's like, well, just let me do it, because Sam can actually do this. He's like, no. Yeah, how about you go back there? And when he finds out that it's a woman that it's about, he's like, women? Okay, well, don't worry. I'm not going to elope with her or anything. Scene stealer, this guy.
Really amazing.
Charles McKeown.
Okay, and so, if I'm not mistaken, that's one of the screenwriters as well.
Oh, really? Let's see. Yes, screenplay. So,
Harvey thinks that he's found out all this, like, really impressive information about Jill Layton, but it's just stuff that Sam already knew before. By the way, my firstborn son's name is Sam.
Yes.
And I just wonder.
Did this movie have something to do with it?
I just wonder about
It's a great name, is the thing.
It is a great name, and it's a great name for him.
Yeah.
He is a Sam.
Yeah.
So Sam decides to go see Officer 412-L's office.
Oh.
And
here's my other favorite character.
Yeah, he doesn't know who
the stenographer.
Oh, okay. So the stenographer is transcribing a torture session.
Like, she's like smiling at him. She's got this amazing contraption on her hands to make her be able to type so fast, and like literally types out like, I know, please, it hurts. And she's just like, hello, how are you?
This whole scene is so weird because he walks into the office and it's his friend Jack. And his friend Jack has like this basically like butcher's apron with like blood all over it. And he's just talking like it's just a regular day. And in fact, his daughter, one of his triplets, is like in the other room. And so he's very sweet with her, but he's just moments ago been torturing somebody.
Also, he doesn't know which triplet it is. He keeps really calling her the wrong name, and she's like, no, like, I'm Harriet or something. He's like, oh, you're right. That you are.
So Jack says that they're looking for Tuttle and Layton since she has been complaining about Buttle's execution. And he does this whole thing where he's like, so you killed Buttle. And he's like, well, I mean, Buttle's heart condition was not on Tuttle's form. Or something like that, right? So it's like...
He's explaining all of it away. Like, it's not his fault because he treated him like the Tuttle that he was supposed to be. Exactly. He's like, so actually, I did a great job. Like, zero remorse.
That's one thing about this whole society, too. Like, no one really takes responsibility when anything goes wrong. It's all about passing the buck. So Sam's like, okay, that's cool. I'm going to apprehend Leighton. I'll do it myself. And as he's trying to get to the ground floor, the elevator takes him actually down into the basement where the elevator is declared out of service. And then he has to like get back up. But as he's coming down, he sees Jill in the lobby and he's like, oh my God, this is amazing. But then he just like passes her by, and just a really funny moment.
I think this whole scene of getting to Jill and then running, one of my least favorite in the whole movie.
Oh, okay.
I felt like it dragged a little bit and made me very much dislike Sam as a character.
Well, we've already know that this is a very officious society. And one of the things I forgot to mention was Jack said that Sam had to have a new suit. It's exactly like the suit he had before. It's just like a slightly different color or something like that. But one of the things that happened was he left his ID in the old suit. So now he's in the basement and they're like, you can't like use the executive elevator. And he's like, oh, no, it's fine. Like, I work here. But he doesn't have his ID. And then then when they go up to the main floor, everybody has their guns trained on Jill. And then he goes through this whole charade of taking her into custody.
Yeah, he's like, thank you, men. You've all done a great job. At ease. And he's just like holding his badge out.
When they get a moment alone, he says that he's been dreaming of her and he loves her. And then he's like, in my dreams, I love you.
Like, I hate anything involving his relationship with this woman. Like, because first off, she's a fucking badass. Like, she's got super short hair. She's smoking. She's wearing this like really butch like jacket and like baggy pants and whatnot. She's a truck driver. She's like driving with a cigarette in her mouth. Like, I'm in love with this woman. She's great. She's giving like Ripley's butch younger sister, you know. But I'm in for it, and I knew that this was already the beginning of the end, because I was just like, you can, like, because he's being an absolute ass with her. She has zero reason to like this man, and she continues to have zero reason to like him, in my opinion. Because he's not only like, you know, entered like her life and been like, I know you in my dreams, creepy. He just starts fucking with her truck while she's driving, like, and then instantly is like starts being suspicious of her for like any little thing that she's doing. So I don't know. I even said out loud to Alan, like, this has taken off a star for me, unfortunately. Okay. If it's supposed to mean something, I don't think it was done very well, in my opinion.
The only reading that I think might salvage it a little bit, in your opinion, is what if she's a part of him? Like, she's a part of his psychology.
That I would accept a little, maybe. But it's then it's a bummer that there's no really great female characters. There's only Figments, or which I know could be a state. I mean, it's true, like a male heavy cast for a male dominated society does make sense. But then, like, can I see the perspective of a woman, please? Like, that would also be quite interesting. I mean, also any person of color, like, would be nice too.
No, it would. The only woman we're kind of left with then is Sam's mom.
Yeah, not great.
Right. Who, when she becomes looks like a very young woman, looks exactly like Jill.
Creepy. But that's also in his dreams, isn't it?
Yeah, it's in his dream, but why is it in his dream?
I liked that in a way. I was like, all right. Because she's so sexual all the time. Yes. We can only imagine that's what he's grown up with. So, I mean, it tracks.
So Sam just wants to run away, but Jill is like, I have a job to do. Plus, there isn't far enough away for us. There's nowhere for us to go, really. And Sam at one point freaks out and he makes her drive through the barricade. You were alluding to him taking over the truck. And then that alerts the police. So, and he also sets this like poor unfortunate soul on fire.
Yeah. And before this, I thought this was such a great choreographed scene. She's picking up a parcel and there's a poster in this factory that's like, you know, it just shows, you know, like a propaganda picture of like a spotlight on like a unidentified box. And it's like, just basically saying, if you see something suspicious, they're probably doing something suspicious. And so he sees her with this, you know, nondescript box, and she just says it's a Christmas present. And he instantly thinks, but I love it that they never like, you have to see that in the background, and they don't just like shove it in your face. And but now we have a reason for why he's so suspicious of her, because he's been trained to be. I just love that.
Yeah. So they end up at this sort of mall place, and there are these people who are walking with a banner that says "Consumers for Christ."
Yes.
And then we have a bit with this mirror, and that's what makes me kind of think, like, remember he first saw her in a mirror, and then there's a scene where his face is bisected by a mirror, and he's holding her off to the side, no one else can see her. So there's all that kind of stuff in there too. But there's an explosion, and at first Sam is worried for Jill, but then he's angry because he thinks she's the one who set off the bomb. But then Jill starts tending to the wounded. She's like, get up, you asshole. Like, let's help these people.
And when she shows him what was in the box, it was because they've, throughout the movie, been handing people in the office have been like, oh, and Merry Christmas, and giving everybody this same exact box, which is just, you know, just generic corporate gift, I'm assuming. So she said it was a bribe to get something. So, yeah, very much not a bomb. So we've still never seen a bomb or a terrorist.
No. But the gift is that decision-making thing with the, like...
Oh, that's what it was.
That's what it is.
Oh, I didn't get that. That thing... That's so good.
But then the samurai appears, and Sam fights and defeats him. But then when he takes off the samurai's helmet, he is the samurai.
And... by the way, when he's fighting the samurai, every time he sticks a knife in it, it has this effect of like real flames of different colors shooting out. I was just like, yes!
Very, very cool stuff. Mr. Warren is bawling out Lowry. I don't know what that means. I guess it's because he got involved with Leighton.
Yeah, he was just saying, like, you know, this is, I don't know what they did down in that department, but this is, you know, information retrieval.
Right. So Lowry goes to ask Jack for help, but he doesn't get any. And then
Jack says,
there's this whole...
I know we've always been close, but until this all blows over, please stay far away from me.
And then there's this whole pneumatic tube scene where, like, this capsule comes out of the pneumatic tube, and Sam just, like, sends it back up. And then another one comes, and he sends it back up. And then finally he gets the bright idea to attach the two ducts together. But then there's this huge explosion, and all this paper rains down.
I just had a thought.
What's your thought, Nat?
Well, maybe I'll wait till we get. But the thinking of the pneumatic tube thing, and then something we find out at the end of the movie, I'm just like, how much of this was in his head? Like, how many characters were in his head the whole time?
Right, yeah. So back at Lowry's apartment, everything is frozen. But Tuttle is back, and he has come, and he exacts revenge on the Central Services guys by filling their suits with sewage.
This I could not watch. Like, I kept looking away because it was a little bit too drawn out. Of just like, I felt sick. It's pretty disgusting.
Yeah.
But he switches the tube for air conditioning and the shit, and so I'm like, that's just like the pneumatic tube thing. Interesting is all I'm saying.
Well, and also, I mean, we can think of the ducts as like, you know, parts of a body.
Yeah, it does look like guts. The
guts.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tuttle takes off and Jill shows up. Well, Jill shows up first, I think, and then Tuttle takes off. And Lowry takes her to his mother's house. I bet you didn't like this part either.
After this point, I hope she's a figment, because it doesn't make sense.
Doesn't make any sense.
But in a way that frustrates me, I guess. It's like, other things that don't make sense, I'm cool with. Like, I think Tuttle's existence, I think that's a way to do this right. And it's like, I get it. I get that men, not every man, but some men have these fantasies and feeling like they are owed, like a beautiful trad wife, which also makes me pissed off. Or, I mean, it all makes so much sense. She goes randomly, finds a wig, I guess, and has like the beautiful long blonde hair as opposed to, her awesome pixie. And I mean, it's not even a pixie cut. It's like kind of like a grown in buzz cut. And now she's in this beautiful dress and she's like, well, what do you think? And she just is this picture of femininity. And I don't know, this whole scene, I think it could have, if your whole message is supposed to be this is all in his dreams and, he'd rather have this fantasy than a real woman. I wish it felt better to watch, because all of that, it felt like for me the first time was just like, okay, like so many movies are just like this, unironically, that like you have to, I feel like it's not out of the realm of possibility somebody would just watch this and think, okay, just like every other movie with a female like counterpart, where just randomly they like this guy for no reason.
They kiss, and it looks like that's going to progress, but then Sam says he knows of a way to save Jill, and he just like leaves. But she says, you can't go without me. So more suggestion that she's not actually real. Sam makes it to the executive elevator and he gets the code right. So the code he was told earlier when he helped Helpman in the John was "Here I am, JH," which is an anagram of Jeremiah, which was Sam's father's name. So he plugs that in to the executive elevator and he's attempting to find Mr. Helpman, and he sees some screens printing off information about Jill. Sam tampers with the code, and when he returns home, he finds Jill in the bedroom, like you said. Now she looks exactly like the woman of his dreams, and he tells her that she doesn't exist anymore. He deleted her record, and she says, care for a little necrophilia? Sam is in his dream world right before the SWAT team breaks in. They take Sam and shoot Jill. When he wakes up, he's in the torture chamber, and he's being strapped down, and the sort of like goons that have brought him there are saying things like, don't fight it, son. Confess quickly. You hold out too long, it'll jeopardize your credit rating.
Yes.
Great line. So Jack approached, my favorite part.
This is great.
Jack approached, because it looks like people were saying it looks like the core of like a nuclear reactor. Like the sides are all incredibly tall, and he's walking out onto this really long platform where Sam is sort of sitting in this dentist chair looking thing. But Jack is wearing the baby mask. And I just love this physicality here, because Jack realizes that Sam's the one who's in the chair. And so he looks back, like at his supervisors, I guess. But then he just sort of puts his head down and keeps walking, and then he starts yelling at Sam, like, how could you do this to me?
Yes. It's like, I don't want to do this, And then he like holds the mic and he's like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Really amazing. And Sam is, begging for his life. He's like, you can't do this, Jack.
I'm innocent.
We're friends. I'm innocent. I haven't done anything wrong, blah, blah, blah. And just as Jack is about to torture Sam, Jack is shot through the head, and Harry and the crew parachute in and they save Sam. And we've got about a half hour left of movie at this point.
And
right?
I feel like I clocked immediately. Like, I mean, it's not that hard, I feel like, to figure out, because some pretty fantastical things happen. But what is actually happening, I was like, but I like that in a movie though, because it's effective. I think you can have something be obvious, but in a interesting way.
Well, it's like you really don't want it. You don't really want what's happening.
You want to be a part of this fantasy too.
Yeah, for sure.
Because Tuttle's amazing.
He is amazing. And there's just all these shootouts in the Ministry of Information, and Tuttle has Sam at one point like push this plunger on this like bomb thing, and it blows up the ministry, and all this paper runs down, but Harry succumbs to it, and he is actually like killed by the paper.
And when like Sam goes to grab the paper, like it's just paper.
Right.
Yeah.
He's gone.
And I just feel like this whole sequence is amazing, but I feel like they could have really trimmed the fat on this one and just have it be like whammy after whammy. I think that would have been great. Right.
Yeah, I think I agree with you when we figure out what's actually going on. But Sam ends up at the funeral of Mrs. Terrain.
I laughed out loud. I literally said, "No, the complication of the complication had a complication." And her casket is bright pink with a bow on top. Oh, it's all amazing.
Sam's mother has transformed into a woman who looks just like Jill, but then soldiers burst in, and Sam pushes over Mrs. Terrain's coffin, and all this like gelatinous stuff just like dribbles out of it.
It's acid.
It is so nasty. But then he falls through the coffin, and he ends up inside of that prefab house that Jill was actually towing earlier. And he ends up living in peace and everlasting love with her in the country.
That does not exist. Because at one point, they drove by this, like, I loved this shot too. They're driving on this long hallway flanked by billboards that are like showing trees and whatnot. And outside of it, it's just like devastation.
A wasteland. Yeah.
So there really is nowhere.
Except that he's back in the torture chamber. And I think it's Helpman, right? Is saying to Jack, he's got away from us, Jack. And the last shot is a fully crazed Sam humming Brazil. And
then there's like the sky in the background, like during the credits as they roll. And what's so amazing, Alan and I just watched an anime. I won't say which one it is because this is a huge spoiler. But there is a character who was our favorite character. He's kind of like in this anime, they like, it's kind of like they're basic office workers, but they fight to, kill these like yokai basically. And this character like is really tough, but he's like typical salary man kind of thing. He's like, I'm just here to do my job. Like this is a job that I hate the least. And basically bad stuff happens and he knows he's basically going to die. So there's this amazing sequence as he's walking through, and half of it is a fantasy that because he's been like burned, that he's fully just himself on a beach smiling. And we've like literally never seen this character smile before. And it just keeps flipping back and forth. Then he has to fight more yokai things. And, he's imagining, oh, he's not swinging his sword. He's like picking up some water and splashing his face. And it was just so, so great. And I feel like it's this.
Mm-hmm. What phobia is that, Mac?
Sorry, I'm scrolling. Masklophobia, sometimes referred to as maskophobia. It's a specific phobia used to classify a general and in some cases an irrational fear of masks, people in costume clothing, and mascots, and this is common amongst toddlers and young children. I do feel like when I was a kid, some of those people in the fursuit, or not fursuit, sorry, just like mascot suits would just be like, I don't want to hug that, sorry.
Yeah, yeah. They are pretty creepy.
Their faces don't move.
We've had this one before, but I can't remember why. Robert De Niro wanted to play the role of Jack Lint, but Terry Gilliam had already promised this to Sir Michael Palin. De Niro still wanted to be in the movie, so he was cast as Harry Tuttle instead.
That's a better casting.
An early title for this movie was 1984 and a half.
That's kind of cute. I mean, I do think Brazil is a confusing name. Because Alan was like, so does this take place in Brazil?
Yeah.
I'm like, nope.
No, it's just that name of that song.
Yeah. It's a weird choice.
The odd little bubble top car that Sam Lowry drives is a 3-wheel, 2-cycle, 1-cylinder Messerschmitt KR200 Kabinenroller. covered scooter, built in Germany in the late 1950s until 1964.
That's a real thing?
It's a real thing, I guess.
What?
The reference to Form 27B/6, without which no work can be done by repairmen in the Department of Public Works, is reference to George Orwell, who lived at Canonbury Square, apartment 27B, floor 6, while writing parts of 1984.
Wow, deep cut.
Yeah. In early drafts, the character of Jack Lint was the hero.
Glad they changed that.
Me too.
Because I think
weird.
this is a perfect character. Of
I do
like,
too.
he clearly has some. I think that's the thing that I love about all of the characters that we see in these like bad guy roles in this movie is they're still gonna do the thing. Like, and they have actually not that much remorse about it, but they are normal people, and that's the scare. That to me makes it scarier than if they were like, let me do some evil, you know?
Right.
When
exactly
confronted with his longtime friend, like this guy doesn't want to torture him, but he is gonna do it.
Well, I know my students get really upset when I talk about, sweatshops in China that, allow us to have smartphones and
It's
things
true.
like that. It's just like we're all complicit, in evil. And so.
Yeah, I feel like there's a way to be like, well, everything's bad, so, I'm not going to analyze things. I feel like some people do that, but it's more like be aware of these things so that you just have like perspective and make changes where you can, and like, yeah, be aware of why things are affordable, and
Oh, yes.
yeah, and
like Temu and Shein and all those. Yeah.
yes, or like be more critical of companies, like restaurants lie and they say, well, we have to pay the servers $2 an hour for your food to be affordable. And it's like, well, can I see the paycheck of the owner, please? Because I'll decide if, and if you have to pay someone $2 an hour, I don't think this business should exist.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. There's just this like idea I have heard from people, even people that I love and respect, that like, because agriculture is one of the like least paid. I mean, it's like migrant labor is mostly used. And I've heard this argument that like, well, that has to be the case so that food can be affordable. And it's like, if you're just telling me that this world exists and some people just have to do the literal one of the hardest jobs you can do with the most amount of pain and long time, like anybody go try in the summer right now to like harvest anything and you'll hate your life. And if you're just telling me that some people, well, just sorry, you were born that way, so you have to suffer so I can feel better. It's like, that's not a world I can accept, And I just find that to be just massive amount of like your way of coping with this. And it's the wrong way to cope with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that could be classified as evil.
I think so too, because I don't know, it's very selfish.
Well, what does Letterboxd have to say about it? Haley in the Bin gave it a 0.5 star. Worst movie I've ever seen. Couldn't get through it. It felt like your creepy 55-year-old balding coworker telling you about his dream last night for way too long. Totally sucks, because the dystopian concept is cool, but is overshadowed by how mind-numbingly boring and heavy-handed the movie is.
I'm that coworker. Guys, I saw this movie. Settle in.
I just like the detail of the coworker being 55.
This is a person that they know.
The Clarkster gave it a 0.5 star. I'll never get back the time I spent pretending to like this for my film school ex.
Both of these are very real, like reviews so far.
So we gave it a 0.5 star. They should call this movie Ohio instead.
Boo. Lame joke.
A Steve's gave it 5 stars. The bureaucratic hell felt too real, whereas Jill liking men, let alone this one, felt so far removed from reality.
That might be my review.
Steven Spielberg gave it 5 stars. A masterclass in set design and visual irony. Absurdity is so integral to Orwell's imagining of dystopia. It just makes too much sense to bring that element to the forefront. The world is an unnatural place when we deny our innate humanity. Every bureaucratic step is a step removed from the people it's affecting. The purpose of a system is what it does.
Good job, Steven Spielberg. That was a great review.
Jan gave it 5 stars. What did you get out of this film? Me, a place in a mental hospital.
Uh-oh.
All right, so how would we rate this? Should we rate it in terms of baby masks?
I was literally going to say baby masks. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
20s. I'm going to give it a solid 4 baby masks, and I'm keeping true to my word that I have to take a whole mask off for.
I thought you were going to give it 3.
Oh no. That's what makes me 4-star ratings are my most frustrating to give, because 4 stars means you could have been 5. You were so close to 5, but you did something I don't agree with, so you gotta be 4. Yeah. If that was done differently, if maybe a woman had touched the screenplay, I think this could have been a 6 out of 5, because I love this movie.
I mean, Gilliam is very masculine. I'm just thinking of 12 Monkeys. I mean, Madeline Stowe is a pretty fleshed out character in that, but it's very male dominated. And I don't know, even Time Bandits, there are female characters in that. I don't know. I'd love to get your take on Time Bandits.
And the thing is I think, people write best about what they know. It's like Stephen King should write coming of age stories about young boys growing up. He's great at that. And, but maybe it would be a great exercise to try to get a little bit better at something that you don't know. Yeah. And, you can ask for help, man. Just ask a single woman. Can you read this? What do you think?
Oh my gosh, that's a bridge too far.
How dare I?
Talk to an actual woman. It just reminds me of one time. There was this porno shop on State Street in Madison, Wisconsin, and I really wanted to go into it. And Pez, my sister-in-law, came with me. And we walk into this porn shop, and it's all guys looking at magazines, and they looked up at us, and then they looked right back into their magazines. And I just thought, yeah, because it's too much to deal with an actual woman.
That's why you're here.
What have we learned from this film, Mac? I would give it, I would also give it 4, maybe 4.25. But it's not perfect. It's too long. And the Jill stuff is
hard.
If it is a figment of his imagination or it's a part of his psyche or stuff, I like that better than if she just suddenly falls in love with him. It doesn't make any sense.
And yeah, I guess the thing is some things in this film are very much analyzed and thought what do we think about this? But I feel like that one is just presented to the audience as just, this is how it is. And
right.
It actually would have been amazing if they had been isn't this, if in the end, all of being with her, and we were shown this, that none of it was real, Right. I would even accept her being a real person, but I was hoping so much that she would just be thanks for saving me, I guess, but bye. I don't like you. I have a whole life to live. Yeah. That's not with you.
She didn't like him at all, and she just kind of had to end up with him so she'd get shot, because that's a quote, kind of, back to 1984.
Yeah.
So,
and I felt like that female character, when I read that book, I was like, this is you could slap any face, any job on this woman, and nothing would change, what do we know about her? I can't imagine her in a line. This is my classic character study. If you can imagine how they would act in a line at McDonald's, I think that is a well-written character. But if you say, I don't fucking know, then we don't know enough.
Right. Well, what have we learned from this film, Max?
I mean, if you are very paranoid about a threat that the government is telling you should be paranoid about, maybe analyze it and wonder, what do I know about this that hasn't been told to me?
That's a great one.
And I think in general, I think a lot of us struggle with this because it's so easy to read headlines. I have made a new rule for myself. I'm not allowed to talk about an article if I only read the headline. I'm not allowed to add that to my belief system if I didn't even fucking read it. So many times I've had full on arguments with people and then been what are you even talking about? And they're like, well, I saw this thing. And I'm like, did you read it? Like, because people will form whole opinions and worldviews based off of a single line. And so I guess my big lesson is, like, form your own opinions, people.
Yeah. Yeah, really good. I think, we are being fed propaganda constantly, and that's something to realize.
Yeah. I like the quote,
And
you are not immune to propaganda. I think that's great.
Yeah. And women deserve to be considered full characters
Yes.
in the drama of life.
And it's like when you have somebody that's acting like such a baller, like Jill was at first, concerned about her neighbors, going to great lengths to make this right on behalf of this family that lives below her. Awesome haircut. Awesome, like, truck driver lady. Great. Like, to me, to be like, wow, she looks so much better with this long, beautiful hair and dress. I'm like, who are you that you think this is better than her in the truck? Like, that's way sexier.
In reality. Yeah. I totally agree with you. Would we watch it again?
Yes.
Yes.
Immediately.
Do you have a favorite scene, Matt?
There's honestly a lot. I guess maybe the ones that tickled me pink the most were any scene with Ian Holm and any scene with the poor woman dying from the plastic surgery. That was just, like, obliterating me. In terms of, like, chaff that you added onto the movie, I'm like, I'm glad you did not cut this. You should have cut other things to give me more of this.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like that really iconic scene with the trolley shot, like, going down in the office building.
Mm-hmm.
I just this kind of thing I will, like, rewind and watch, like, 3 or 4 times. Like, how did they do it?
And there's so many people. Like,
so many people.
To choreograph all of that must have been intense.
Yeah. I also like Michael Palin. I think he
did great.
Wonderful.
Every actor, I think, did an amazing job.
Well, it's kind of a no-brainer, but who wins the You Fool Award?
Sam.
Sam.
I think it's Sam.
All right, WoHos. So our plan is to look at When Evil Lurks, which BT dubs, We Que Horror, did that film.
Oh.
And the Spanish language is Cuando Acecha la Maldad, which is actually When Evil Stalks.
That's a better name than When Evil Lurks.
It's kind of hard to say in English. But it's, in order to give it the proper space and time it needs, we're going to cut off the podcast here and we're going to do a separate pod on When Evil Lurks. And if you haven't seen it, please do yourself a favor, because it's an amazing piece of film.
And you should see it before listening us. I mean, I'd be happy if you just listen to us spoil it, but, there are some moments you won't be able to really feel if you don't just watch it.
So I'm going to read the outro, which was originally written after we had done both films. But all you WoHos know that there's going to be a part 2 to this grim AF set of films. Thank you for joining us for this episode and for all your support. It means the world of horror to us, truly. Next time, we're going to be looking at 2 films that can only be described as body horror metallic. Titan from France and Tetsuo the Iron Man from Japan. Remember, WoHos, we love you, and don't go into the basement.
Yay!
Hey, Mac.